Alabama Upstarts. Entrepreneurs, inventors, and startups, this is your chance to meet face-to-face with a real venture capitalist. Today's venture capital judges are founder of Liberty Learning Foundation and the co-owner of Stovehouse Properties, award-winning entrepreneur Patty Yancey. Former mayor of Dothan, Mercedes auto dealer, businessman, and one of the leading supporters of emerging entrepreneurs in Alabama, Mike Schmitz. Here's our host, Joy Morris.
Welcome to the Alabama Upstarts University Challenge semifinals. I'm your host for tonight's show, Joy Morris. This is the first of our two semifinals featuring the winning entrepreneur from the University of Alabama that you voted in. We have Reboot Reforestation pitching against the winning entrepreneur from the University of Alabama in Birmingham that you voted to continue, Pneumobot Systems. We'll hear from both of them again in the show and let you decide who goes on to the finals. And the $5,000 cash prize and the Alabama Upstarts University Challenge Championship Trophy. We'll be right back with the first semi-final contestant, Reboot Reforestation, on Alabama Upstarts.
We'll be right back with more Alabama Upstarts. Welcome back to more Alabama Upstarts.
Welcome back to Alabama Upstarts. Tonight we begin the semifinals of the University Challenge. Our first contestant is your voted entrepreneur from the University of Alabama, Reboot Reforestation. Here's a little bit about them.
Hi, I'm Dalton Morris, CEO of Reboot Reforestation, where we use drones to plant trees. We have 8 team members with diverse backgrounds, including environmental science, mechanical engineering, urban forestry, political science, history, business administration, finance, and economics. I'm an environmental science major here at UA, and I'm also pursuing an MBA.
Hi, I'm Hunter Cheka. I'm a history major here at UA. My hobbies and interests include barefoot water skiing and 3D printing, and I came to the university because I wanted to get a taste of the southern hospitality of the area.
Hi, I'm Brian Jennis. I'm a mechanical engineering major here at UA. My hobbies and interests include skateboarding and playing guitar, and I chose UA because I've always loved growing up in the South and I just really enjoyed the campus.
I chose to pursue environmental science because I want to make a difference with our planet.
I chose to be a history major because while I was taking other courses for physics, I always had history courses in the background, and I always loved my history classes, so it was a pretty easy decision.
Mechanical engineering as my major because I've always been a creative thinker and I just love tinkering with little trinkets around the house.
I'm the CEO, Chief Email Officer, and I'm responsible for communications, setting up meetings, general business strategy, and any other thing you might need.
I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Reboot Reforestation. I'm in charge of day-to-day operations and machine maintenance.
I'm the Chief Technical Officer for Reboot Reforestation, and my responsibilities include designing drone components, configuring prints, as well as graphic design work.
I'm passionate about entrepreneurship because I want to solve problems affecting our environment.
Hi there, I'm Dalton Morris, CEO, Chief Email Officer of Reboot Reforestation. Not pictured up here today with me is Hunter Cheka, our COO, Michael Malone, our CFO, and Brian Jennis, our CTO, as well as 4 other team members. I want you to imagine that you own 10,000 acres scattered across dozens of properties in North Alabama. You have just logged this and now you want to replant. But you know that it's expensive, labor-intensive, and time-consuming to plant millions of trees by hand. You don't want to do that yourself, so who do you call? You call us, Reboot Reforestation. Hi, I'm Dalton Morris, the CEO here at Reboot Reforestation, where we use drones to plant trees. We use drones to deliver seed balls to restoration areas. Seed balls protect from predators, they lock in moisture, and provide nutrients. Seed balls increase survivability compared to traditional seed scattering techniques. For some comparison, if you scatter seed out in the wild, only about 3% germinate. Meanwhile, we can get that up to 50%. We have recently scaled production of seed balls. We have made an industrial seed ball maker and assembly line where we can produce 10,000 seed balls per hour and millions per year. We're not limited by the amount of seed balls we can produce. We're limited by the amount of land we can plant on. We have partnered with the National Oceanic and Applications Research Center down in Biloxi, Mississippi to utilize their heavy lift drone. Attached to their heavy lift drone is our seed scattering device. This is how we deliver seed balls to the environment. Our biggest competitor by far is Drone Seed. They're located in Seattle, Washington, and they just raised $50 million to scale up restoration. However, they're only focused in the western United States on post-wildfire restoration. We haven't found a single drone company in the Southeast who plants trees with drones. This leaves us perfectly poised to tap into a $3.1 billion market. We are here today to ask you for $200,000 in exchange for 10% of our company, Reboot Reforestation. Hi, I'm Dalton Morris, CEO of Reboot Reforestation, and we are revolutionizing conservation. Come join us today.
Excellent. This is my first time to hear this, so very impressed. Are you manufacturing, doing it now, or
Yes.
Tell me what stage you're at, I guess.
We're manufacturing the seed balls ourselves. Within the
Okay.
next 2 weeks, we're sending out 100,000 seed balls to California, 50,000 to Mississippi, and another 50,000 to Florida, all of our partners.
And who are these customers?
Yes, they're primarily private landowners, conservation organizations, and private landowners, conservation organizations, and
So how does it work? How do you plant the seed ball?
we use drones to deliver them and spit them out into the environment. Seed balls don't need to be planted. As you can see, they're hard, almost like a rock, until it rains. Then they degrade into a mound around the seeds where they're pre-planted.
Wow. So how did you come up with this idea?
Seed balls actually aren't too new. They've been around for 2,000 years, since the ancient Egyptians. They've been used in places like Africa, even indigenous cultures here in the US. So this isn't the unique part. The unique part is our production method and using drones to plant them.
And when you say your production method, what are you saying there?
Yes, so we can produce 10,000 seed balls an hour with our industrial seed ball maker, and we can produce millions per year.
Wow. And okay, so are you owning the drones? Are you gonna get that, you partner with somebody else that has the drones?
Both.
Okay.
Our model is to sell our seed scattering devices and retrofit them on our partners' drones, as well as providing the service of planting ourselves. We actually have a huge industrial drone coming in from China. It has an 8-foot diameter and can carry about 100 pounds. Legally, we can only carry about 55 in the US right now without a special permit.
I'm assuming any tree I want.
Right now, we have only done longleaf pine and pollinators. We are currently working with landowners out in Mississippi and here in Alabama to expand into hardwoods, loblolly, and slash pine as well.
Tell me that second one, longleaf pine and what?
Loblolly and slash
okay.
pine.
And I'm just curious, why is that?
Primarily in the US, down here, we plant loblolly pines in order to do logging. So they grow faster, they are able to tolerate less nutritious soil, so that's really been favored within the forestry industry.
But you don't see having any restrictions on any? I mean, like you're not into hardwoods yet, per se. Do you see you have any restrictions on doing hardwoods?
The only restrictions I see is the size. We
okay.
can't do a coconut, but we can do
I gotcha.
Anything smaller.
I gotcha. Well, hopefully I wouldn't want to do that many of those. I think that, so from a marketing standpoint, let's talk about, other than the drone people, your forestry folks, are they, I mean, I know they do it the old school way and it's more expensive, but are they competition? Are they going to see you as a oh no?
Yes. Our indirect competitors are machine planting and hand planting, and that is still about $150 to $250 per acre. For hand planting, you can plant 1 to 2 acres per hour. Meanwhile, with us, with a single drone and a single person, we can do 10 to 20 acres per hour. And our goal in the long term is to get approval from the FAA to have multiple drones per swarm, which will exponentially increase our profitability.
So it's not new, but it's sort of new. So it's breaking down those walls. That's really your challenge, isn't it?
Yes, definitely breaking down those walls, infiltrating a very traditional market.
Right.
And the reason my apologies. The way we're breaking in and proving that we are legitimate is by publishing this data in credible scientific journals that all of these foresters read, as well as working with the USDA, US Forest Service, and reputable companies
And
within
in
our field.
California, what are you doing there?
In California, we're working with vineyards out in Napa Valley to seed cover crops. They're having a very large issue with soil compaction out there. They have been using large machines, several tons. They compact the soil. And when you compact the soil, water, nutrients, and air doesn't get through, and it damages the roots. So they wanted a way to plant cover crops and spread fertilizer without touching the ground. And drones are perfect for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this
That's
is great.
brilliant too.
Great job.
Super job.
Thank you.
That is truly an amazing product that you come up with. How did you feel about this?
Very confident, very excited. I'd like to thank all of our investors, our supporters, and our mentors.
That's amazing. Well, you heard it right here. Reboot Reforestation. If Dalton is your favorite, you need to vote for him. QR code is at the bottom of the screen. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more contestants on Alabama Upstarts. Here's our host, Joy Morris.
You're watching the semifinals of Alabama Upstarts University Challenge, where the finalists could win $5,000 in cash. Next is our second contestant of the night, Megan and Samuel of Pneumobot Systems. Let's get familiar with them.
Hi, my name is Samuel Wilcox.
And I'm Megan Solister, and we're both juniors studying biomedical engineering at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And I'm also on the pre-medicine track.
Before we introduce ourselves a little more, we'd first like to thank everybody for voting for us so we can move on to this next round of the challenge. You know, we really appreciate your support. We enjoyed this project and relish the opportunity that Alabama Upstarts has provided us. So we really thank you for your support. So a little bit more about what we do. Megan, you want to start?
So I actually volunteer at Amedisys Hospice as one of my extracurriculars for UAB, and I speak to patients and their caregivers and just see how they're doing and take their time a little bit and just be able to talk to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of my hobbies is robotics, and so I really enjoy that. So one of the things that I do at UAB to enjoy that hobby is I actually go to high schools in the Birmingham area, and I help teach robotics and kind of interact with the high school students there so they can learn more about robotics and engineering in general.
And we're both actually involved in this independent research where we're working on this project that we're pitching for this competition.
Yeah, and it's a really great project for us because it's both of the things that we really enjoy doing, and that's kind of why we became entrepreneurs, is because we just found something that we really enjoyed doing. I enjoy robotics, and our project is heavily reliant on robotics engineering, and Megan enjoys working, with patients and things like that, especially elderly patients, and this is where this will have its biggest impact, is for those elderly patients. So entrepreneurship just kind of fell into our laps, if you will. And we just started becoming entrepreneurs because we found a project that we enjoyed doing, and we saw that there could be an impact in the world.
Hi, my name is Samuel Wilcox.
And I'm Megan Solwester.
And we're here on behalf of Pneumobot Systems, and we are asking for $100,000 for 5% of our company.
Now, we're both undergraduate students at UAB, and we're very fortunate to be on a big medical campus. And going into the hospital, you see tons of problems that maybe you don't know about. We discovered one, pressure injuries. It's a very big problem in the hospital. It's a chronic wound over a bony prominence of the body. Now, you wouldn't really know this problem exists unless you directly impact it or you have a family or someone you know that impacted it. But it's a very large problem. The first time I experienced it was with the chief of wound care at UAB, and he stuck his finger inside of a pressure injury and touched the pelvic bone of a patient. This is very demoralizing. I wouldn't want to experience it. I wouldn't want anyone else to experience it. It's a large problem because 2.5 million people inside the US hospital care system alone are developing pressure injuries yearly. Now, this is not including patients who are in hospice or home health or nursing homes that are also developing these pressure injuries. And out of that 2.5 million, 60,000 are going to die as a direct result of these pressure injuries. And that doesn't even include the patients who are dying because they're becoming weak from developing a pressure injury and then dying of some other cause.
Yeah, so as Megan talked about, this is a huge problem for the people, but it's also a very expensive problem. It costs the U.S. healthcare industry $26.2 billion a year. That's about 3% of U.S. healthcare spending. And that's on pressure injuries, a problem that people don't know about. So a lot of patients are affected and there's a lot of money out there. So a lot of companies are really trying to do this. But in their endeavors, they leave out one key demographic, and that would be the nurses. The nurses are the people on the front line of this problem. They go into the hospital rooms with these patients, they turn the patient every 2 hours to be exact. That's the national standard. And they make sure that a pressure injury isn't forming. But they're kind of fighting a losing battle because it takes 15 minutes for a pressure injury to form. And at 2 hours, they're not getting in there fast enough. And they have so much else going on. They have tons of patients to care for. They have to worry about their medicine, their vitals, all these things. And so when they go in, they might not be able to turn the patient and turn them effectively. That's where we come in. We propose a robotic mattress that uses real-time pressure sensing technology to move a patient and mitigate pressure injuries from forming. That takes this problem out of the hands of nurses. They don't have to worry about it anymore. You know, a nurse trying to move a patient, that can be tiresome. I'm a big guy. You know, if Megan was the nurse who came in and tried to move me, that would be really difficult, right? And these nurses have to deal with patients like that all the time. So with this mattress moving them, they don't need the physical fatigue of that, but they also don't need the emotional fatigue because they don't need to worry about a pressure injury forming. We combat the root causes of pressure injury, AKA pressure. And we also look at other conditions that lead to formation like moisture and temperature and things like that, so we can mitigate pressure injuries from the start. So we're here and we are looking to get into this industry and really take this technology into the hospitals and alleviate this burden from the nurses, as well as cure this problem for the patients. Do y'all have any questions for us?
Wow. Yeah, I got a bunch of questions. Let's start with, do y'all have a prototype right now? Have you actually?
So right now we do not have a prototype fully. We have what we would call a minimum viable product for certain aspects of our technology. So for the pressure mapping, some of the robotic actuation and things like that, we have that developing. Part of the reason we're here today and asking for $100,000 is because that would go to getting us that minimum viable prototype, minimum viable product, the prototype that we need to go into the hospital and test this.
So how does it alert the nurses? I mean, how is this something they look at, or is there a red siren that goes off, or how do you do that?
So the idea is that you would be lifting it from the nurses completely. So although they'd be able to check on the patients and see if there's any like possible places that could be forming, you ultimately don't want to alarm the nurses, and you want it to automatically do it itself.
It does what itself? I mean,
prevent pressure injuries.
It moves the patient. So a nurse goes in.
How does it do it?
So we're not going to disclose exactly the robotic technology because we're working on our patent right now, and we don't want a public disclosure, but basically it uses robotics to move a patient and turn them effectively, as a nurse would when they'd go in, put their hands on the patient, pull them up, and maybe put a pillow under them to hold them up and things like that.
Does it have the ability to turn them all the way over, or is it mainly just putting something under?
So it's mainly taking like the aspect of like a foam wedge or a pillow that nurses would use. It would substitute that as just doing it itself.
Okay.
Yeah, turning a patient over isn't used in pressure injury prevention.
Okay, gotcha. And I thought it was. Yeah. Okay.
Cost.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you see this coming out as cost?
So initially we think the mattress is going to cost about $7,500 per unit, and that's going to be accompanied by a software subscription that the hospital would purchase to control the mattress as well as interface with the nurses. So as Megan talked about earlier, the nurses can see how the mattress is working, and that would be in like a nurse's station on a computer, and they can look and see, okay, you know, here's this patient, there's the map of the patient's body and the pressure forming and things like that. But as we expand and start scaling up manufacturing, we hope to drive that cost down to about $5,000.
Talk to me a little bit about your timeline, where you just told me where you are stage-wise, but how quickly are you going to be able to move? And I know how the patents work and that kind of thing.
So right now we are just looking to file for a patent, get the funds to do that. We have the minimum viable product, and we're trying to partner with a engineering firm to help build not only a prototype but a medical grade prototype. So that would take about a year or two to get that going.
And then once we get that medical grade prototype, we're going to do what's called an internal review board, or an IRB, in the hospital. Dr. Vandernoot is one of the doctors that we work with in the hospital. That's the chief of inpatient wound care, and he's approved to do an IRB in the hospital so we can test it and actually see if it's working for these patients.
Can I ask how the idea sparked? I mean, where did y'all?
So this was actually a class. It's called Clinical Innovations, and it's through our honors program at UAB. And so we took this idea and we talked to doctors in the hospital, and then we took it into independent research on our own.
Good for you. How's the subscription going to work? Is that going to be an annual thing?
Yeah, for the software, it would be an annual subscription for control of all the mattresses.
Do you have any idea kind of what that cost might look like?
Maybe like $1,000 per hospital.
So you're not doing per patient?
It would probably be a striated cost, so like up to 100 beds would be
gotcha.
like $1,000, and if you have 150 beds in the hospital, it might be $1,500 and scaled up like that.
Well, this is exciting, and I'm just proud of you guys.
Yeah, very
and,
proud. It's great.
Great job.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
You feeling good?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you have a huge chance here. Well, you can help them. All you have to do is vote for them, scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen.
You could be the next winner with your business idea. Apply at alabama-upstarts.com.
The winner of tonight's show will go on to the finals for a chance to win $5,000 in the Alabama Upstarts University Challenge. We'll announce the winner of tonight's show in next week's semifinal show between entrepreneurs of Auburn University and Birmingham Southern College. Tune in next week as the University Challenge continues on Alabama Upstarts. I'm Joy Morris.
Alabama Upstarts, providing a runway and launch pad for Alabama's entrepreneurs. Today's $1,000 winner compliments of Mercedes-Benz of Dothan and Mike Schmitz.